buying time, killing people next in line. Lower class and social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they war. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Laugh to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower class and social side, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See the shit, force of bear. Fuck them back, it's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one leaves countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Good afternoon. It's October the 6th. This is Game On UCY, best little network on the network on the internet. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. And boy, I got to tell you, between the Saturday night show on Revolution Radio and the Sunday noon show on UCY, boy, that's some fast spin time. Anyways, I really enjoyed, if you listen to the show on Revolution Radio, which was also broadcast on UCY last night, I'm really glad that Farmer George came on, because I got to tell you, I was so bone tired when I got home last night. I didn't get home until 7 o'clock, and we were getting a roof on an old farmhouse, and it was a bone ugly day. The weather was lousy, and the work was tough, and it was steep, and it was slippy, and it was everything else that you don't want on a roof. But we got it all yesterday, and ended up getting closed out by rain out of daylight, and had to get her tarped off because it was raining when we left. So hopefully the tarps are still on the building, although it didn't rain that much after we got it tarped in. So I guess we'll go finish tomorrow. So I was beat when I got home last night, and the idea of doing the 2-hour show at 10 o'clock just. I was joking with some people, I says, this will be my show Saturday night. Welcome to Canada Live, a.k.a. Rebel Rooster. It's October the 5th, and now I'm going to do this for 2 hours. That's how friggin' tired I was. So George, who had been out at the Michael Schmidt farm, had called a couple, 3 times yesterday when I wasn't home. Called him last night. And thankful for me and hopefully for the audience, he agreed to come on the show. So it wasn't me trying to figure out what to yammer about for 2 hours. So hats off to Jordy, who's also been persecuted for an awful bunch of years. Anyways, last night I was also going to get Enos on the show, and either George gave me his number inverted or I got it inverted. And didn't get him on the show last night. So just before airtime, I got a call again from George and Enos. So yeah, I'm gonna bring Enos on the show today around 12:30, and we're going to talk about some of what he's been up to. Now, Enos is one hard-working dude, man, and all he wants to do is be left alone, right? And he's scrambling constantly. And, he didn't register his last child or his last 2 children. He has been harassed and harangued to no end because he didn't register his children. And when he didn't register his first child, and I'd met him once or twice in the past. He's a fairly young man yet, and so he couldn't understand why all the harassment. And I said, well, you took money out of their pockets. When you refused to register your child, you took an investment certificate out of their hands that they can't make any money on. They can't make any money on your child unless you register it. And they ain't happy about that, my friend. They said, oh, okay, now that makes sense. Because I couldn't figure out why in the hell they're up my butt all the time. What's it to them? Well, it's money to them is what it is. And they don't like it. You took their money. You wouldn't give them what they claim is their child, of which they can profit from. So, of course, they're hassling you. So, if I'm not mistaken, I think Enos has had another child since and hasn't registered that child either. So, yes, exactly. Canadians are nice people and polite people. But, as I tried to explain to people way back in '74, you need to sharpen up, people. Okay? We got hoodwinked. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You own nothing, okay? And you are subjects of the Queen Crown, okay? And if you look up what a crown is, it's something you stick on your head, okay? So really, if you look at it, and I don't want to, I understand this, when I talk about something biblical or about the Creator, I am not talking about religion. Okay, I got no use for religion at all. None. Zero. Squat. Okay, we're not talking about the same thing there. You're talking about religion and Creator. You're talking about the same basic thing as legal and law. They're like oil and water. You can't mix them, but they do that all the time, but that's all part of the deception. Okay, is that you think one thing means the same as the other thing. It does not. Same as you, people go, I'm a citizen of Canada. Well, boo-hoo to you. Okay? Citizen is completely interchangeable and synonymous with subject. Okay? You are a subject of the crown. Now, the crown is an abstract concept. It doesn't exist in reality. Okay? So the same thing they do with you. The queen is the head of state. And the crown is the crown. And while they are separate, they are also indivisible, because one can't operate without the other. So the queen is a personification of the crown. The queen breathes life into this abstract concept called the crown. And it's the same thing they do with you. Okay? They take a man or a woman and they attach it to the fictional man or woman, the fictional entity, and while they are separate, because obviously they're not the same thing, so they're separate, but they're made so that they are so-called indivisible, and that's your attachment over to the crown. And all of this was concocted, if you think about it seriously, and you go back in history when the kings and that, you go back to King John and the Magna Carta. That's as good a spot. Actually, it's better to go back to William the Conqueror. That's where you get a better lowdown on what's actually taken place over the years. But the fact of the matter is that this is all basically concocted by the lawyers and the bankers who keep the king/crown in its position of power. But of course, we're doing something for you. You need to do something for us. Okay? So they cut a deal. You call it a deal of the devil, or whatever you call it. But the lawyers and the bankers and that have really enriched themselves through these deals they cut with the so-called royalty to protect the royalty through their legalese nonsense. And in exchange, they get certain rights and privileges, which means basically they feed off of you. Okay, just like you're the host and they're the maggot, man. They just feed on you because they don't produce anything. Okay, a lawyer and a banker, I mean, if they ain't feeding off you, they don't exist because they got nothing to feed on. And we've allowed them to feed on us for way too long. And I read an interesting story. I don't know if I'm going to get to it today, but I read a story last night that the lieutenant governor of the province of Quebec is going to jail. There's an old woman in a wheelchair, and they took her out of the court. I mean, this is how retarded this is. They took her out of court. She's old, she's in a wheelchair, and they got her handcuffed. Like she's going somewhere, right? And they say, well, it's policy. It's ridiculous is what it is. Anyways, apparently over the 10 years that she was lieutenant governor of Quebec, she was pulling some rather fraudulent deals. And her lawyer basically stepped forward and said, well, you really can't bring her to court because she is in place of Queen, and therefore gets the same deal as the Queen, and the Queen is immune. Right? You can't prosecute the Queen. She's immune. And they tried to use that. The lawyer tried to use that as a defense. Not even a defense. The fact that he couldn't even bring this lieutenant governor to court because she is in place of Queen. She signs the stuff that comes through the legislature into law on behalf of the Queen, because the Queen can't be everywhere signing everything, because the Queen is head of state over 13 realms, I believe it is, 13. So she can't be everywhere. So we put these lieutenant governors in the provinces and the governor general at the federal level to sit in place of the Queen. What the court said was, regardless, that ain't the Queen, and therefore is designated as a civil servant who is loyalty to the Queen, and does the bidding of the Queen, does the work of the Queen, and signs on behalf of the Queen, but it ain't the Queen. So they didn't allow that into the court. So eventually this lady got, I think it was 14 or 18 months. They were looking for 4 years. I find it kind of ironic again, the way this is working out here. But anyways, the one story I want to talk about, excuse me, today is again about the police. Now, the police, first of all, I don't care where you are. The police do not serve and protect you, just like the politicians do not serve or represent you. Okay? They're all state actors, and you're a subject of the state. I don't care if you're in Oklahoma. I don't care if you're in Sydney, Australia. I don't care if you're in backwater Britain. I don't care where you are. You are a subject of the state. Okay? And the Constitution, realistically, is a constitution for the benefit of the state. Now, I know that's not how they put them forward, and I know how that's not what people believe, but that's a fact. Okay? It is about protection of the state, not the people. The people are what the state feeds off of. Now, I know the state is supposed to represent, and if the state doesn't represent, you'll be able to take the state and tell it to shove it where the sun don't shine and get some new reps in there. The fact of the matter is that you as long as you're attached to this entity, this abstract concept, which was designed by the bankers and lawyers to enslave you, and so that the royalty could continue to sit where they sit. And that's over and above you, making you a subject. But the fact of the matter is, you can't vote. It's an impossibility for you to vote because you can't register to vote. You can't go up to the voting booth and say, "Hi, I'm John. I'm here to vote. I've lived in West Virginia or, backwater Alberta all my life, and I'm here to vote. You can't vote. You cannot vote. The man or woman cannot step up and vote, because the only way you can vote is to provide and agree to the terms of the abstract concept or your fictional identity, your so-called government ID. Okay? You can't register to vote without that ID. And the ID does not belong to you, was not created by you, it belongs to and was created by the state. Okay? So you cannot vote. And those who are elected cannot represent you. They can only represent the state. Or in the case of Canada and the other realms of Britain, is all police, all judges, all elected politicians are classified as employees of the Queen/Crown. And that's who they represent. So when they say, vote for me, I want to be your representative, they are out and out lying. Or they're too stupid. One of the two. But once they're elected in a phony election, they cannot represent you. They can say they want to represent you, that's fine, but they cannot represent you because they represent the state. And the golden rule is you cannot be beholden to two masters. It's an impossibility. And so the whole thing's a massive ruse. Now, getting back to the police here for a second, I guess it's about, what is it? This is a 2014 death. Now, Jermaine Carby was shot by police after a traffic stop. And the police said they shot her because she had a knife. Well, what happened was that somebody came and took the knife. Just a second here. I got a call. I'm just going to see who this is. Yeah, good morning or afternoon. You calling UCY? Hello.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good. Who's this?
Who's this?
This is Doc Who.
Doc who?
Yeah, right.
All right.
How did it get? Oh, you got the phone. Who is this?
I'm doing a show called Game On UCY.
That's one of my favorite stations.
Well, then you're a smart man.
Oh, I know. I get that a lot.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
We need more smart people.
Yeah.
And that's what these shows are all about.
Smart, I know, yeah. I was trying to call Revolution Radio, and I dialed that number unless I hit a wrong one.
Well, that's really strange, right?
We've done this before.
I think so, because you dialed, let's see. Well, no, that's what you called was the phone number for UCY.
310-421-4053, unless I misdialed.
Well, I got, let's see, 352-797-2252.
Well, that's me.
Oh, okay, that's you. Well, let's see what we got here on the phone number. I've got 717-8296.
Well, that makes no sense.
And what did you call?
310-421-4053.
Not even close. That's right. But that's really weird, because you're trying to call into Revolution Radio, and you end up here.
Well, there's no coincidences. What are you guys talking about?
Well, I was just going over a story here where a policeman shot a woman at a traffic stop, and the police came in, and there was allegedly a knife, but the knife disappeared and then reappeared later on. So it's all about the smoke and mirrors and the private board hearings that are not disclosed to the public, and so on and so forth, right?
Oh, brother.
Yeah, well, that's what they do, right? Because the police don't work for anybody but the state, right? And where are you from?
I'm in Florida.
Well, you're in Florida. Well, I'm up in Canada. And this is yeah. You know, I worked in. This is off topic, but I worked in Florida after Hurricane Andrew. I was running a construction company up here, and they killed the economy up here. So I'm doing a bit of a scramble. So I had to go down there, and it was quite funny because the campground I was staying in down in Homestead, I got labeled. I was like the pet Canadian, right? I was the only Canadian in there, and it was amazing because, you know, the people would go, hey, how's it going? You know, and, hey, Canadian, right?
Yeah.
They used on me more than any Canadians ever said hey. You know, it was very comical. Nice people, though, I met. Really good folks.
Yeah. Andrew was a mess.
Yeah, and what I did when I was down there, because I also worked as a reporter before, and the amount of corruption I saw down there in the officials was absolutely astounding. And I was keeping notes, and I went to the Miami Herald and with my notes, well, not notes, but pages and pages and pages of stuff, and said, you know, we really need to do a 2-3 part series in the paper here. And so the editor looked over my notes, and he looked at me and he said, we ain't printing this stuff. And I said, well, I don't understand that because this is the truth. And he looked at me and said, truth? We don't give a damn about the truth, right? And that was the editorial people at the Miami Herald. So, and that was a long, long time ago. And it was one of those rare moments of honesty, right? That no, we don't give a damn about the truth was absolutely correct. So, you know, I'm always telling people don't ever buy a newspaper or pay for media because you're just encouraging them, right?
Yeah.
You know, so how is Florida these days?
Well, it's raining today. We get, you know, more than our share of rain, and fortunately, the hurricanes are going up the East Coast.
Yeah,
instead of coming across. We haven't had a hurricane here. I don't remember when.
Well, that's because of climate change.
Yeah. Well,
now, if you had lots of hurricanes, it'd be because of climate change, and not having any hurricanes is because of climate change. But I've been seeing some really nasty reports that you know, Miami's just days away from going under the water, right?
Oh yeah.
The water's rising fast, right?
Either that or the state is sinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's some people that say Florida's going to drop down about 150 feet. Other people say, excuse me, oh boy, here goes the coughing thing. Are going to drop down 850 feet. And then Atlantis is going to rise.
No shit, eh?
Yeah, really.
So all we got to do is take our belongings and move on over to Atlantis, and we're still driving.
Yeah, just get a little boat or something, you know, and haul over there and let them experiment on us.
Yes. I mean, it's so ludicrous. It's ridiculous, you know. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there's actually a video on my blog, which is CanadianTruth.wordpress.com. And I actually found a video from 1958 saying the exact same thing they're saying today. And this was a Hollywood production called, what was it called? Goddess on Chain, which would be Gaia, which would be Mother Earth nonsense. But it was the very same thing. It was that you know, there's going to be a great inland sea. Miami's going to be under 100 feet of water, and people will be viewing Miami through glass-bottom boats as a tourist attraction, right? And that was 1958. And it's still pretty dry down there, really. You know, so the sea isn't really rising. And if it does rise, it's normal. And if the land sinks a little bit, that's normal. That's just the way it operates, folks. But they use that propaganda nonsense to freak people out with and get them to submit to all kinds of nonsense. But how's Florida overall? I mean, um, I hear stories or I see stories where people get arrested for feeding the homeless and yada yada yada. Like are the people
All true. It's
are,
all true everywhere.
yeah, well, I mean, we just had a raid here. A friend of mine who has a farm who's selling raw milk and has been since 1998, and they've been trying to shut him down since '98, and he just ain't going for it. They raided it again on Friday, and the people that the police came in and were going to load up all his equipment in trucks and that, and the people just once the truck got in. And the officials all came in. They just blocked the gates, and so they had the officials and the police trapped inside, and just basically told them that they ain't letting them out of there until they back off. And after a few hours, understanding the people know a lot more than they did in 1998, the police and the officials finally kind of got nervous. And nobody had any guns or anything. There was just enough people who knew what they were doing there. People came in from all over when the word went out the raid was going on, and just from a moral standpoint, stood the officials and the police down, and they ended up unloading the truck, and kind of whimpering their way out of there. So I'm hopefully the same thing's going on everywhere, where people have said, you know what, we get your propaganda now, and we're not going to put up with it anymore. So hopefully the same thing's going on down Florida way.
It's at Anytown, USA. Just,
Yeah.
The homeless are disappearing. All kinds of just normal people are disappearing.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's in large numbers. I mean, children are disappearing, and that's probably a lot of it, if not almost all of it, is the child sex slave trade.
Right.
Yeah. And,
But I mean, generally the people, I noticed up here, people didn't want to hear anything I had to say 10 years ago. And now I have more people coming up to me asking me questions. And I find that it's good. It's almost humorous because you put your hands over your ears and run away when I tried to speak to you 10 years ago. And my attitude was that as we go through this and they ramp it up, more and more people are going to be affected. So it becomes very difficult for people just to look away and pretend they don't see what's going on. And now people are being hammered negatively, and they're starting to ask some serious questions and looking for some answers to it. You kind of seen the same thing your way?
Yeah, well, the whole planet is waking up thanks to the internet.
Right.
Before we had the internet, there was, if you read the paper, you're just still sound asleep.
Well, yeah. I mean, and I think that's what's happening now. The stories in the newspaper are getting so ludicrous that even the dumbest of the dumb can't believe what they're reading anymore.
Pretty much they believe their own lies.
Mm-hmm. So, anyways, if this was Saturday night and it was 10:30, I would actually be doing a show on Revolution Radio, which I did last night. But today's Sunday, and I'm on UCY, and you're dialing into Revolution Radio and ended up here. I find that just amazing.
Well, it may have some. Are you on Skype?
Yeah.
Okay, well, they're having all kinds of problems over on Revolution.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, Nighthawk said in the chat room, I've still got the chat room up, that they're having all kinds of crossed wires. Of course, Skype, the logo for Skype is the planet Saturn. I don't know if you noticed that.
Right, which is the New World Order, which is all the rest of nonsense, and Microsoft owns Skype now, and So, I wish we could come up with a new VoIP. I don't know if there's other ones out there that we could be using other than Skype. I haven't had time to look into it.
Not that I know of, but I mean, it's probably on its way. Somebody's thinking about it.
We need to get away from Skype. I mean, it's the best tool we got to communicate with. But I know a lot of people don't want to use Skype because they say, well, they track everything. Well, that's true. but I don't care.
Everything tracks everything.
Yeah. So, if you're afraid of the truth, then I suppose you don't want to use Skype, or you're afraid somebody's going to find out you know the truth. You might want to not use Skype. To me, listen in, learn something, right?
Yeah.
We'll use it that way. But it's getting a little screwier. Skype is. I've been having some weird problems off and on again. So yeah, I don't know if there's another VoIP system out there that we could be using. It might be time to go looking. But then you got the problem of moving all the people that are on Skype that do the shows and listen to the shows. It might be too inconvenient for them as well. So we'll just play that out and see what happens.
Have you come across the Shungite revolution?
The which?
Shungite.
No, never heard of it.
Wow. Write this down, cosmicreality.net.
Uh-huh.
And it's a mineral stone with the carbon-60 molecule, and they call it the buckyball. And it didn't form on this planet. And it may have come, some geologists believe it probably came from the planet Phaeton when it blew up billions of years ago.
I can't even go there with that stuff, right?
How's that?
Well, it came from a planet that blew up billions of years ago, and it landed here, and it's this certain stone, but it's not from here. And whether it's right or it's wrong or it's real or it's not real, anything that has anything to do with outer space, I tend just to stay the hell away from it, because our problem didn't come from outer space, and our problem is not going to be solved by something from outer space. The point is that it's our feet here on this ground, and we need to solve the problems we face by our own resolve. And too often what I see is people looking for some kind of a savior situation or something that we can use that isn't from here in order to save us, when in fact all we got to do is go look in the mirror, and we are both the problem and the solution. And that's it. We have a problem, we're going to have to solve it. And if we're looking for something else to solve a problem for us, then we're going to lose. It takes people's minds away from what they need to be focusing on. Just like you said, down in Florida, people are missing, right?
All over the world.
Right. So I can't look at something that supposedly blew up billions of years ago for anything. We live here. I didn't come from some weird planet somewhere that blew up 2 billion years ago. And we're not going to solve the problems looking in that direction. We need to look in our own backyard, because like you said, every town USA, which is every town world, the same exact game is being played on the people everywhere. The problem is the people, the only place you can get a solution, the only place you can make a change, the only place that you can stop this nonsense is exactly where your boots are. What's going on in Greece or Syria or anywhere else on the planet, we can talk about that till we're blue in the face, until the next crisis comes along and we forget about the last crisis, and then we spend 2 years talking about the new crisis. And meanwhile, we're being taken down in our own backyards. And that's where we need to focus, because that's the only place the solution is going to be found. We got to get in the face of these idiots that we call our city councilors, who are implementing this global agenda, global to local. The global agenda instituted at the local level, turning all power and all control of all resources over to this global bunch of nutcases that fired this thing up in the first place. So the solution is in our backyard, and the solution will come from the people. But the people got to bear down on this, right? And get to work on it and out these sons of bitches, right?
As soon as they get awake enough.
Well, that's the whole point, and that's what I say. Like for to talking about all these other things, these whatever issues they are, real or not real, doesn't really matter. It's all distraction, because if you're talking about something that you can't do anything about, then you're spending your efforts and your time and your mental capacity dealing with that, when you ought to turn it inward to your local community and get that solved. Once we get a few cities or municipalities or towns that stand ground and shut them down and take those back, that will spread like wildfire, because that empowers people in other areas to say, well, they did it. Okay, we can do it. That's the only way we're going to get our countries back. That's the only way. And we got to focus on that stuff. I was going to do a show one day. I hear so many shows, about ascension and this and that. I don't listen to a lot of shows, but I run into them every now and again, and I think this is such a mental screw up. It's ridiculous, right? Because people are frustrated and they don't know what to do. Their backbones have been tore out of them, and their mental capacity's been minimized, and they're frustrated, and they've lost their jobs, they've lost their houses, they don't have any direction in their lives. They see all this stuff come up, they feel powerless. So when these people start yammering on about, look to Venus, or look here, or look there, right? And the people go, oh, that's all we have to do. We just have to think we can manifest this stuff. Well, I hate to break it to you, folks. You can't. Okay? You can't do it. Reality is you're flesh and blood, your boots are on the ground, and you're being pounded by other people who are flesh and blood with boots on the ground. Go read what Cicero said way, way, way long time ago. A standing army is less to be feared, because you know what, they show their colors. You know what you're aiming at. You know what the threat is. But when the threat comes from inside, from people who look like you, talk like you, dress like you don't see the enemy. You don't recognize the enemy. And that's how they're tearing us down, from the inside. Not the outside, the inside. And
they're in our heads, all right.
Well, we got to get that straightened out. So, anyways, this is really interesting. So nobody knows. See, I get calls all the time. People will call even when I'm not on air, right? And they're calling into something, and I'm going, I don't know how the hell you ended up here, right? And they're going, it's really weird. So it could be maybe the Vatican's on my side now. Who knows?
Don't get me started on this.
Well, no. I used to get just an awful pile of hits on my blog, right? When I fired, my blog was rolling, and then I got a notice. They'll give you a notice, so and so is now following your blog updates, right? And I got one a few years ago that said the Vatican is now following your blog updates. And my hits just went in the toilet after that. So I don't know what that was all about. So maybe the Vatican wants you to hear what I got to say. I don't know. And maybe that's
people. It's run by the Jesuits.
Well, the Jesuits, right? They're the good guys, right?
Nope.
They're not. I know.
Not in this lifetime.
Not in any lifetime, right?
No.
No, and they're just agents of the Vatican, and
they've got a better spy agency than the Jews.
Well, yeah. Like, you could, you hear a lot about the Masons and stuff, but all the Jesuits really are the Masonic club on steroids, right?
Yeah.
The influence is crazy, and they're very secretive. And so, people think they have government, which and I know they don't have government. Government cannot represent them. It's impossibility. So if they're not representing you, then who are they representing? And who are they doing the bidding of? It certainly isn't the people that live here. So time to change that out, right?
Yeah, good luck with that.
Well, it's got to happen. If it doesn't happen, this is what kills me about people. Well, we can't do much about it. Well, then everybody just shut up and stick your heads up your ass and call it a day.
Yeah.
And quit whining and complaining about what's going on. If you're not prepared to stand up and change it, then you got no right to complain about it. Right?
Right.
And so people have got to come to grips with reality. And, it's difficult now because people don't really have much of a sense of reality anymore. Anybody that's still alive has been basically watching TV since they were very young. And they were put into these state schools to be taught what the state wanted them to know. And the newspapers, same thing. The prostitutes are the rich people. What people understand about reality today is very small. There's not many people, and our job is to get them to eyeball the reality that they're in. And I'll leave you with this thought because I got to bring somebody. I have somebody I have to call here. I'm late on it, but. You're in Florida. I saw a clip out of Austin, Texas, I guess. I think it was the University of Austin. And there was a reporter running around there asking the students at the university their thoughts on, it was, I guess, the 50th anniversary of the assassination of John Kennedy.
Right.
Nobody this reporter talked to knew that Kennedy had been assassinated.
Oh. Well,
And this reporter's mouth was hanging open, right? Going, what do you mean you don't know? Huh?
I love to watch Jay Leno and his little skit, Jaywalking.
Yeah.
And asking
the stupid people.
students
Yeah, the stupid
basic
people.
questions. They had no clue.
No, and that's reality. That's the reality. People have no clue. That's why they're having such an easy time with us. But when that reporter's asking me, he said, how is it possible you don't know about the assassination of Kennedy? And they said, all we were ever taught was that he died in office. There was no talk about an assassination.
Wow.
So, the education system is completely controlled by those who wish to control you. And so very few people have any semblance of reality anymore. And our job is to get that sense of reality back into their heads. And
so internet radio, we're doing our best.
We are doing our best. And so what's your name again?
Doc Who.
Doc Who. I think I've talked.
Yeah, they know me in the chat room at UCY.
Yeah, okay. So if you're ever in Florida, folks, look up Doc Who, and he sounds like a gentleman who is right on top of this stuff. And, we got to keep talking and keep teaching and keep shining the light. Less than that, we lose. And, people are worried about FEMA camps and this and that and the other thing. Yeah, they have no fear of any of this shit. Right?
Don't have any fear of anything.
No, exactly, and that's the whole point.
They feed on fear.
That's exactly it, my friend. Lose the fear, you take their power away from them. Okay? The standoff they had over at the farmer's place on Friday was a typical example of that. I brought that up on the show last night, and it equated to exactly, more or less, but it was the same attitude as what happened at the Bundy Ranch. We are not afraid of you anymore. We stand in a morally rightful position and you don't.
Yep.
Somebody's going to stand down, and it ain't us.
Well, my information on the Bundy thing was a false flag as well, because Bundy's in the bloodline.
Pardon me?
The Bundy name is in the bloodline, so I understand it was a false
okay.
flag.
See, yeah. I don't know about that. I didn't spend much time looking at the Bundy thing. The only thing I really looked at, I don't really even know the background of it really, is that they were coming for his land or something. But the fact of the matter is that whether it was show or not, Okay, the fact is that the message went out that while these people were heavily armed, they were not being aggressive. Okay,
That's right.
standing on a moral platform, and you're not. Okay, because the difference is that legal, which is what the feds and that do, is amoral, and that's what the legal system is.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that's and we're moral and they're not, and if we stand with our moral guns, we will back them down every time. And it's important, if it's the same thing over at the farm there. If 3 people had showed up, it'd been a whole different ball game. If 3 people had showed up at the Bundy Ranch, it would have been a whole different ball game. So what I've been saying for years, what we need is bodies, okay, who are willing to stand on the line.
Yep.
And not be fearful. And the only thing that will make people not fearful is knowledge. Once they have the proper knowledge, they have no need to be afraid because they understand the fraud.
Yep. The Bible says, "My people perish for lack of knowledge."
Exactly.
I may perish, but it won't be for lack of knowledge.
Well, what I tell people, it says, none of us are getting out of here alive. That's a given. So the question you need to ask yourself is, what are you going to do between now and that eventuality? Live in fear? Then you didn't live.
Life to the fullest.
If you're living in fear, you're already dead.
Yep.
Right? So lose the fear.
Yep.
And
there's two different types of kinds of people: service to self and service to others.
Right.
And the other type of 2 different kinds of people is people that are busy being born and people that are busy dying.
Yeah. I like that.
It's all attitude.
It is all attitude, and the attitudes are changing. I see it. We got a long ways to go yet, but we got to understand they didn't get us into this position overnight, and we're not going to change it overnight. But we just have to make a determination that we're going to change it. And when you think about it, when you think about it, Doc, the people that planned all this nonsense of our enslavement, what they did was they made a plan. And they've stuck to the plan. Now, they've had to vary for their plan every now and again and move this way or that way, but the end goal has always been the same. It doesn't matter how many people they kill or destroy or displace, the ends justify the means, right? And they're trying to get to an end. And we basically just need to do the same thing, and we need to decide that we're not going to let it happen. Now, once we've made the decision it's not going to happen, then we work towards that end to make sure their goal, they don't get to their goal line. Okay? Call it a football game if you want, right? We build our grid and they ain't coming through it. We're going to back them up, and we're going to turn around, and we're going to march to the other end of the field, and we're going to kick the field goal. We're going to get the touchdown. Okay? And we're going to send them home whooped. But that's a determination we have to get into our souls. Because again, we have no right to whine and bitch and complain about what they're doing to us if we just continue to allow them to do it to us. I mean, that's pathetic.
Yeah, as long as we give them permission, they'll take advantage of it.
Absolutely. So, the big answer to the whole question is a big fat no. We get it, and the answer is no. You can't have what you want. Period. And you've disarmed them,
That's right.
And what I keep encouraging people,
shrivel up and go poof.
That's right. And what I keep encouraging people, be armed, right? Whether Bundy was false flag or not, it was 2 groups of people armed to the teeth, and it was Stonewall. They somebody's going to move. And they decided they weren't moving. That left one party to move, and that was the Fed, because they couldn't come forward and win at that. If they'd killed everybody at the Bundy Ranch, they didn't win.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a psychological, spiritual war we're in. So be heavily armed, but don't go around shooting at people. Okay, we don't need to because they need that. They need us to get violent to justify them coming down and crushing people, right? And then they get to spin it in the news that this faction, this weird, strange domestic terrorist group, thank God you had the government here to save you from these people. That's what they want. Don't give it to them. Don't give it to them.
That's right.
So, yeah, we win. That's simple. I ain't been in this to lose, all right? I got a million things I'd rather be doing in these radio shows. I do it because I feel obligated to do it, and just trying to encourage people, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, anyways, I just got a call, Doc. I want to call a gentleman that I was talking to earlier who didn't register his children up here and has been getting all kinds of flack, and I want to get him on the show. So I'm going to let you go now.
Sure. Yeah, if you talk to Jules, tell her Doc Who was on your show.
Yeah, Jules won't talk to me.
No?
No, she threatens me all the time. She's it's terrible. I'm afraid, I'm living in
No
fear.
fear,
Here.
no
I'm
fear.
living in fear here on UCY. No, I am so happy to be on this network. It's craziness, man. I've been on a lot of networks, and I got to say, I'm pleased as punch to be part of the UCY family.
Yeah, they're good people.
And I just hope everybody's out promoting UCY. We need a lot more listeners. We have some just superb hosts here that pull no punches, and just lay it down as it needs to be laid down. So, we just keep doing what we do, and hopefully we can, not hopefully, we're going to turn it around. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it because we got no choice.
That's right.
We got to get back what belongs to us. And, I keep saying this to people, if you look at their so-called laws, 90 possession is 90% of the law. Well, everything that was built on our lands, regardless of where you live, you or some member of your family had a hand in building it, even though you don't own it. And that's a ruse. And but the fact is, we possess these lands because it's our boots that are on them.
We'll get it back.
We got to lay claim to it because it does belong to us. And
the Bible says, the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the just.
Right.
And the meek will inherit the earth, and I'm as meek as it gets.
Exactly. But it boils down to numbers. We need numbers, and the ability to say no. And,
it just takes a small percentage, like in the original Revolution for America.
Oh yeah, it's not going to take that many people. It just takes people that are solid in their stance and that don't fall into these false negotiations and that. I have a rule of thumb that somebody's going to blink, just like they did over at the farm and just like they did at the Bundy Ranch. Somebody's going to blink. And understand when that blink comes. You got to be able to know when the blink happened. Because once the blink happens, you've won. And once you've won, they're going to try and get you into negotiation. Well, once you've won to go into negotiation, you're putting yourself back in a position of losing. So you don't negotiate once you won. Ever. There's no reason to negotiate once you've won.
Yeah.
So we win. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, and it's going to be a glorious day.
Well, all we're fighting is a house of cards, and they're playing 3, 4, or 5 level chess games, and all they got to do is kick the board over.
That's it.
Scatter their pieces.
That's it. It's no different than Monopoly game. They created the board. They own the board. They own the properties. They own the finances. And people think they're playing. Well, you can't play Monopoly unless you take their piece. Use one of their pieces. You can't play Monopoly. You and I can't play Monopoly. The breathing flesh cannot play Monopoly. And you say, well, you have to pick a piece. That's your ID. Well, I don't want that. Well, then you can't play. How can we keep track of what you're doing? And when the game's all over and you fold it up, You put it back in the box, and the box is owned by the state, crown, whatever you want to call it, Vatican. All of the money you played with is owned by them. The properties is owned by them. And when you die, it all reverts back, so forth and so forth. So basically, it's like that movie Jumanji where you get in the game, right? And and your whole life changes, which it has because they take your life away from you once you're thrown into the game. The only way to get your life back is to get out of the game and don't open that box again.
Yeah, just stay away from the Saturn death cult.
Exactly. So, anyways, Joe, I really appreciate that. It was interesting. It's not where you were calling, and I apologize for that.
It was meant to be, obviously.
Yeah, it was great. I really appreciate the wrong call. So keep
time here.
Yeah. So keep doing what you're doing, because you obviously know what you're doing. But like I said, we got to concentrate where we can really make the difference, and that's in our own backyard. So, that's the only thing we can get at, and
Yep.
and if everybody does that, you'll find we get back our lands pretty damn quick. Because they're all scared. All these people that are your local council, they know what they're doing is wrong.
They've sold out.
Yeah,
They've been bought.
but we aren't holding them to account. So the old story is, silence is consent. The people are remaining too silent in their own yards because they're looking somewhere else. And
I'm working on a county commissioner's campaign, and he's a native to Brooksville here.
yeah.
And his slogan is "He's one of us," and I like that.
Well, as long as you can't track him attached to the UN somehow, because
No, he owns a
oh,
pawn
he's a
shop.
straight up guy.
Yeah. He
Okay,
owns
well, that's
a
rare.
pawn shop, and he's got more guns in there than he's got anything else.
Okay, well, that's a rare man because
Yeah.
every mayor they have the International Mayors Group, World Mayors Group. All the mayors are all attached to this crap. All the what we call them up here is CAOs, and down there I think they call them city managers. They're all schooled. They are specifically
Masonic,
schooled
too.
in. Yeah, they're specifically schooled in how to implement Agenda 21 without your knowledge. And you're paying these guys. You're paying their salaries.
Well, I'm not.
No, I'm not either. But I mean, a lot of people are, and yeah, show these people no respect because they're deceivers and they're liars, and a deceiver and a liar deserves no respect whatsoever. And
Those are the service to self people.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, they talk about community. They're not talking about community at all. Community doesn't need these people to start with, okay? Community is you helping me and me helping you.
That's right.
And this idea that, we have to abide by what they say, well, that ain't community, okay? Community looks after each other. And that's what's missing anymore. People don't know
They've
how.
broken the family all to pieces. The family unit.
Right. Destroy the family, destroy the community, and then we come in, and then you have to call us anytime you want something. Well, we lost our community. We got to go get it back. So I mean, when I was a kid growing up, it was community. People,
Oh yeah, we didn't lock our doors at
nobody
night.
locked the door.
You didn't have to put your bicycle away.
Nope. Just leave it on the front lawn. It'll be there in the morning, right?
Yep.
And people always run around. Can you look after my kids for a few hours? Yeah, no problem. Just throw them out in the yard, right? Whatever. And
Yards aren't safe anymore.
well, yeah. How can your yard not be safe? I mean, what have we come to?
Yeah.
I mean, how ridiculous is this, right? So
Well,
we
they
just
get
got
paid
to
a lot
get
of
that
money
back.
for a child. They get paid a lot of money for a child.
Well, yeah. Up here, I was at a CAS, I think, children, whatever. It was the same thing you got down there, the child stealers. and I had an interview.
Protective services.
Yeah, child services. Yeah, and I interviewed. I went into their office and with a video camera, and the people that protesting said, "You'll never get an interview in there. They have lawyers on staff and everything." So I'm a pretty good talker. So I went in and I got yakking to these people, and eventually I got one of their people to sit down with me in an office and talk. And I said, well, what I see here is that this is like you got a bounty on children. Oh, no, we don't have a bounty on children. Well, the way this is structured, the way this is structured, you get so much a child, right? Well, yeah. So if you want to hire more people or get a raise or increase your pensions or whatever it is, the only option you have for more money is to have more caseload, which means more children, which is a bounty on the child because your incomes are completely tied to the caseload. If you don't go take children, you ain't got no money. And you're out of business.
Yep.
And we talked for about an hour, and after a while, she says, well, that's not, well, the way you say it, it kind of sounds like a bounty. But we're here to help. Well, no, you're not. You're not here to help the child. You're here to help. Yeah, you might be here to help, but you're not here to help the family. You're not here to help the child. Okay, and it's definitely a bounty, and that's sick. That's really sick. That we have government officials out there stealing people's children. And what are you going to do with that? Fix it. That's what you're going to do about it.
Yeah.
So,
Stand and deliver.
Yeah, we got to get back to manufacturing what we use. I mean, we have, that's all been stolen from us. And, America, people say, the population's 310 or whatever it is. And I say, yeah, so what? Manufacture something, China's 1.3 or 2 billion, okay, which is basically 1 billion more people than live in the United States. And the land mass of China is just very slightly larger than the United States. So this idea that we need to import all this crap is just another lost leader. We have all the resources, both in the United States, especially in Canada, when we got 34 million people living here, in the second largest landmass place on the world, and we manufacture nothing. It's ridiculous. So my attitude is what we need to do is just hook up. And I still want my country separate from your country, but hook up. And if you use the idea that North America is the only landmass on the planet, and the rest of it's water, then the question has to be, with the resources that are available, with the population that here, can those people thrive and survive with what resources we have? And that, well, the answer is we would live in Shangri-La. Instead, people are working 2-3 jobs. Their wages keep going down. If their wages ain't going down, inflation's going up, so they're still losing. And they spend their entire waking day trying to keep a roof over their head, food on the table, when we're absolutely an overabundance of richness and resources, and we have our people living on the streets. There's no excuse for that. None.
There's a reason, though.
There's a reason. There's no excuse, though, right? And, we can't continue to make excuses for what they've done to us. We just got to stand up.
Yeah, well, their lease is just about over.
I think so. I think so. I think I'm a firm believer propaganda only has a shelf life of so long, and the shelf life is long dead on that propaganda they've been spewing for so many decades.
Their storehouse is going to be empty, them thinking it's full.
Right. And we're wealthy beyond our wildest imaginations,
Yep.
And
I
you know.
can't pay my bills, and I feel wealthy.
Oh no, I mean since you know, I told my wife in 2006 when I had to make a decision. You know, I said well, I was fighting windmills at the time here because I already knew that from 1974, and I knew a
That's
lot of
chaotic.
yeah, and I knew the ruse there, and I knew the fraud there, and the people didn't, and I thought, well, I have a duty to explain it to them, and but I did tell my wife, I said this will take about 6 years of hard work, and but I need your okay on this because it's going to get rough financially, and you know, she said do it, and it needs to get done,
Great.
do
That's
it,
great.
and. And so I know I'm an extremely lucky guy because I know a lot of other people where one of the two spouses, you know, says I got to do this, and it does change your life completely. This isn't a part-time thing; you're either in or you're out.
That's right.
And
There's no middle ground.
no, there isn't. You got to make a commitment, and that's what we need more of from more people is commitment. And so yeah, it's been a rough ride. But would I have changed it for anything? No. You know, people say, how can you do this long? You know, you're getting beat up, you're being harassed, you've been thrown in jail, dragged through courts. Well, I said, the game is to make you submit. Okay? The idea is to make it miserable enough for you, you'll quit. But fewer and fewer people are quitting all the time. This idea that they can beat you up and you will submit is not, it's not working.
It ain't floating.
No, it's done. People are not submitting anymore. Once they've made that decision and they understand their game of forced submission or mental submission, and you don't submit, and the other people see you don't submit, that empowers them. And that's basically what we try to do is empower people. Lose the fear, understand reality, and what the other thing that I really try to encourage people, you know, is this idea of, oh, I can't do anything, right? Well, that's fine. You go look at your child in the eyes, and you go look at your grandchildren in the eyes, and you tell the child or the grandchild that mama, daddy, or grandma, grandpa know what the hell's going on, but they're too weak of the mind and the spine to do anything about it. You just keep telling your kids and grandchildren that. Because sooner or later, if you don't stand up and do something, after you're long dead, one of your offspring are going to show up at your grave and look down at it when they're completely pinned down and simply ask a very simple question, and that is, why didn't you do something?
Yep.
So, you know,
Well,
we just got to...
The guy that invented the cathode ray tube wouldn't let his kids watch. He said, no, that's a weapon. No, you're not going to watch that. So people have been under mind control since we came out with television.
Right.
And now it's digital, so they can even inject thoughts into your head through TV.
Yeah, I encourage people there a few times, you know, I don't care what you want to do, take your TV, drop it out of an airplane, or throw it off a building or a bridge, or just simply take it out in the yard, dig a hole, have a ceremony of the family, right, and bury the damn thing, right? Because as long as you're staring at that damn thing, I don't care how informed you think you are, as long as you're staring at that thing's getting at you.
That's it.
And you got to get it out of your life. Because again, every time you watch that, you're thinking about what they said. They're in a program on there. I don't care if it's a hunting show or a comedy or these talking heads that call themselves newscasters.
Liars.
The propaganda is so deeply embedded in that it's getting in your head.
That's it.
What we need to do is get truth into people's heads, and that's why I don't have, I've had to poke the odd cop, but most of them, I'll try and shake their hands, have a chat with them, and explain to them that they are me and I am them, and we all sitting in the same problem spot here, okay? You have a family, you got a house, you're trying to keep the roof over, okay? So we're all in the same boat here. You're just on the wrong side. You need to get over on the right side. Okay, and then we go get them. So yeah, it's just keep spreading that knowledge, man.
I do it every day.
Yes, I know. I can tell talking to you. Do it's refreshing as hell.
I had to go pick up a prescription for a woman that's disabled at the grocery store, and the kids were selling world's finest chocolate on a card table outside, and I versed them on the 432 hertz, 440 versus 440 hertz.
Right.
Thing. You know about that, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're in the band, so they said, yeah, I'm going to check that out. I said, find out what you're tuning to, because Rockefeller bought all the band instruments for people in America if they would change to A440 hertz.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an amazing story. But this is the kind of control they try to exert over everything, right?
Yeah. Well, there's a ton of 432 hertz music that's really mellow and all different types on the internet once you get in there and look. And I sleep all night long with 432 hertz music going.
Well, you sound pretty mellow. And
what better way to repair your DNA than while you sleep?
Right, and you sound extremely well grounded, and you're doing exactly what everybody has to do. Don't be shy, people. Right. You don't need to be shy, right? Talk to people. You don't have to know them. They don't have to be related to you. Just talk quietly to them. Ask them, if you ever wonder why your hydro bill's going through the ceiling or your water bill's going through the ceiling? Is it showing a negative impact on your discretionary income or whatever? Just strike up a conversation with people. Okay, you want to strike up a conversation with people you're going to get the right answer to, because there's nobody you're going to say, are you happy with the way your electricity bills, water bills, and taxes are going? They're all going to say no. So you've opened the door to a conversation with them, right? And then you can pass your knowledge to them as to why these things are happening. And
I wake people up that are intelligent, and I'll follow up with them for, a week later, a month later. Have you had a chance to check any of those websites out? And I'll just give them a few, like geoengineering and or chemtrails,
right?
Those kinds of things. And I'll check back with them. Oh, I haven't had time. So what are you going to do? You shake the dust from your feet and you move on.
Yeah, that's right. But the fact is, every time it's just like a television set, okay? It's moving information. I'm a firm believer that once you talk to somebody and you stick it in their head, it's in their head, whether they want to acknowledge it or not. It's in their head. Okay, and so you have a conversation with somebody, and they say, "Oh no, I didn't really get time to look at it yet," and hopefully somebody else talks to them about that or something else. This is ingrained in their brain, whether they like to believe it or not.
Yeah, they got a dozen excuses why they didn't do it.
Well, yeah, and I spent a lot of time in marketing, and I discovered, I was looking for patterns, and I discovered that most people have a basic 3 excuse for not doing something or not buying something, and they may use a little different excuses, but most people only have 3 excuses. And once you get by those 3 excuses, they become an open book because they got nothing else, right?
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing. And that's psychology again. And that's what they're being controlled by, is psychology. And we're smarter than their psychology. So,
the irony about psychology and psychiatry is that it's a made-up science.
Well, exactly. It's not even... I have no use for science at all because, I was reading a report. It wasn't a report, it was a book. And, I already knew this, that the scientists are being on us as priests. Okay? The new priests. And we can't question, we couldn't question the priests, and now we can't question the scientists. And I found a book that said back in the mid-19th century, when Darwinism or when evolution was sprung upon us, that is when they decided they had to kill God, because God and ecology are opposites. Okay,
Yeah.
and with God, they couldn't bring the environmental movement forward.
Hmm.
Okay, so they had to kill God while they still let people believe. They said we allow people to believe in the ghost that was God as we move our environmental program forward, and then we mix the two terminologies to confuse people, and so on and so forth. And it's said right in that book that the scientists of ecology are the new priests.
That's it.
Okay, so you got these people saying, well, the scientist said, well, guess what? The scientist, just like the priest, is full of crap. The priests were disinfo agents, taking what was in the Bible and twisting it to their advantage.
Hmm.
And the scientists are doing the same thing. I mean, how
Yep.
ludicrous can it be when a group of scientists at the IPCC and all these other outfits that are attached to it say that we have the capacity through these computer models to look out 100 years and decide if we don't do this, i.e., reduce our carbon emissions by this amount, by that time, that the temperature will rise 2 degrees and the world will collapse. Now,
Oh, they're
only
so
a
full of it.
lunatic or a priest would come up with a stupid story like that.
Yep.
And people say, well, we need to believe it because the scientists said so. Well, the scientists are lying to you.
The men in the white coats.
Exactly. Trust me, brother. Right? You know? Wasn't it the scientists that told us that eggs were bad? Wasn't it scientists that told
Yeah,
us that
yeah.
butter was
Cholesterol's good for
bad?
the brain. Yeah,
Right?
cholesterol's good for the brain.
You're still eating butter. I remember this when I was young. You're still eating
Uh-huh.
butter? Well, why wouldn't I? Well,
Oh,
did you listen to the scientists? They said butter's bad. You'll get cholesterol. You'll die. Well,
I can't
my,
believe it's
my,
not
my
butter.
grandma lived to be very old. She drank raw milk and ate real butter, and so did my uncles. And they lived to be extremely not just old, but very active.
Yep.
You know, my uncle at 92 was on the tractor headed out to clean out the bush at 92.
Yeah.
My uncle now on my dad's side is 88 and has a humongous garden which he looks after, and he's still out in the bush. At the age of 80, he was still hand splitting 135 cord of wood a year.
Wonderful.
Now, how is he doing that? Full of pharmaceuticals and GMO foods? Hell no.
Nope.
So
Yeah, my mother made it to 99 in 10 days.
really?
Yep.
My neighbor fell down last year and banged her head on some bricks there on the patio. She caught her toe or something. I heard her moaning, and there was there's a fence there at the patio, so I couldn't see what was going on, but I heard this moaning. So I jumped the fences, went over, and she's laying there on the patio with a towel over her one side of her head, and there's like a salad bowl half full of blood or whatever, quarter full of blood, and I'm looking this over, and I'm going, what the hell happened here? Obviously, he fell down, and so I went in the house and got some blankets and a pillow and stuff, and asking her how she's doing, and she said, "I'm fine. Help me up." And I said, "No, I think your daughter's inside calling the ambulance and that." Well, I don't need an ambulance, and this is a farm woman, right?
Yes, yes.
And a very big reader, very intelligent woman, well-read woman, and she is a woman who she knows came from her creator. And anyway, very independent woman. And so they hauled her off, and I was walking the dog, my mom's dog, around the neighborhood there, I don't know, a month or two later. And her daughter came out on the deck and said, Mom wants to say thank you. I said, not necessary. And she said, well, she really wants to talk to you. So she came out after, and she had 2 sets of stitches. And she says to me, I said, how you doing? She said, and she killed me. She looked at me. And she told me how disgusted she was with the ambulance people, how disgusted she was with the hospital people. A very independent woman. And And but she looked at me and said, "So yeah, but how you doing, Mrs. Manners? How you doing?" And she looked at me and she smiled, and she said, "I'm 99 and I'm feeling fine."
All right.
And the attitude, folks, it's all attitude. Okay.
Yep.
And we're going to have to get some attitude. Beaten people don't have attitude. Moral, free people have attitude because they're supposed to. Because if you don't, you're going to get beat up. And you're going to succumb to the nonsense that you've succumbed to.
Yeah.
And it's not a good place to be. So, our elderly are leaving us. And the young people in the school system now are pretty much mind screwed. And
Most of them. Not all of them, but most of them.
I've talked to some kids that get it. But overall, how do you like this, Doc? Our high school here, population 7,000 people. We got a cop. We're nowhere near a city. We got a cop on staff there with a gun in his holster all day, every day.
With one bullet in it?
Well, yeah, I think his name's Barney. Anyway, but now I was talking to some kids in that, and they're not allowed to play baseball at the school. Or why not? Well, because it designated the bat as a weapon.
Yeah.
That's how ridiculous this is. Kids,
Oh, yeah.
most kids to me today look totally depressed.
They are. Unless they're on drugs, then it's even worse.
Mm-hmm. So they've taken the childhood away from the children, and that's dirty pool as far as I'm concerned. You know, they've destroyed these people
To the max.
Yeah, and we got to get their lives back for them, and so on and so forth. So, it's good. It's all good, and we win. It's that simple. Just keep doing what we're doing. They're no match for us. There's way too many of us, And you go back, I said that a lot too. You go back to that Mandel House quote, it said, like even if 1 in a million knew what was going on, we've got plausible denial. Well, 1 in a million would mean 320 people or 310 people in the United States know what's going on. I hate to break it to you guys, but there's a hell of a lot more than 1 in a million to get it. And there's more every day getting it. So the numbers are moving to our side. And you lose. Simple as that. Because you don't have plausible deniability anymore. And once you don't have plausible deniability, you ain't got nothing. Except the truth coming down at you. And you people, they can't stand the truth. Just like vampires and cockroaches, man, they can't stand the light. So shine the light on them.
Yep. Well, energy vampires in this case.
Yeah. There's anyways, I really got to get off of this. I was supposed to call someone into the show an hour ago.
All right, we'll do it.
And so I'm going to let you go.
Sure.
And I really appreciate you calling in, though, and I hope the listeners appreciate you calling. I know they do. There's a good group of listeners. And
I know. Yeah, they're good people.
Yeah, they're people. They've got their feet on the...
Tell Jules I said howdy.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Don't be afraid of her.
She's probably
her bark is worse than her bite.
No, I'm just kidding about Jules. She's an absolute
I know that.
I just thought, it was an opportunity, I guess. To throw some fun at her.
She's a good sport.
Yes, she is. So, rule of thumb, folks. I want to thank Doc Who for jumping in here today, even though he wasn't calling here. So I want to thank Skype for screwing up the lines. I appreciate that. Just keep spreading the word, folks. Keep sending people to UCY or wherever. But make sure where you send them to that it's not full of disinfo agents. That's pretty well nutted now. Most people get what this disinfo stuff is all about. They're really starting to catch on. 90% truth and 10% lies is still a deception. And that's how disinfo works. Okay.
Great talking to you, Ron.
Yeah, you take care, and thumbs up to Florida.
Yeah, Same
All
for
right.
Canada.
Yeah. Okay. Take care, my friend. Thanks for calling in.
Canada.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. I have to get a hold of. Okay. 519-378. Oh, 3783. What? Oh, yeah. I guess who's this calling now? What's going on here? Okay, we got a call coming in here. I don't know what's cooking.
Oh, well, it happened again.
There you are again.
I was trying. I know I'm dialing the right number.
Yeah, I don't get that at all. Anyway.
Did you have the server on your show?
For where?
From last night?
Yeah, but I'm not hooked up to it now.
Well, I don't understand.
See, I'm not hooked. Like I get what you're saying, but I'm not hooked into Revolution Radio right now.
Wow.
So I don't.
Any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. But that's what they're up to. Yeah, I don't understand why those things happen, but they do. So I'm going to have to ask you away now because I got to get this other call in here.
All right, I don't know what to do because we've got an hour and a half left on the round table.
The only thing you can do is send a note in the chat or something, or get a hold of somebody.
Yeah, I think he's got an alternate number.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do.
Yeah.
So you may want to.
Okay.
All right.
Nice talking to you again,
right.
unexpectedly.
Yeah. Okay, be good.
Bye.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, anyways, I'm just trying to call Enos here. Hopefully we can get into him. Or not. If not, I'll have to get him on because this...
Hey, can't come to the phone right now. Leave a message.
Right. Okay, I've missed you.
The mailbox belonging to
Blue Fox.
is full. To leave a callback number that you can be reached at, press 1.
Where the hell am I at here? Okay, that's running. Okay, I think, let me see what's cooking here. Okay, we lost the line there for a minute. Anyways, I think I'm live. If I am, let me know. If I'm not, let me know. Yeah, all right. So anyways, that was interesting. I'm still trying to get to the story I wanted to talk about in the beginning of this. And let me see here. Where am I at today? Yeah, okay. I want to talk about this story with the police here, and the police anywhere, and how this system's set up, actually. Up here in Canada, the police are employees of the Queen. The Queen is the head of state. The job of the police is to protect the state, not serve the people. Now, the police have been increasingly shooting people. And besides the fact that sucks, It's just a fact, and it's what's happening. And, you know, a lot of people say, how can the police, you've seen the stories over and over and over again. There's too many times it's a butter knife or a pen knife or a baseball bat or a fake gun or whatever the hell the reason is the police are shooting at people. It doesn't make any sense. Because, you see, if I'm a heavily armed cop, even if I'm not a heavily armed cop, even if I'm not a cop, and you're depressed or something's happened, it's got you upset, or you're confused, or you might be not running on all cylinders, and you're angry about something, and you're standing in your driveway waving a butter knife, and I know me. I'm going to come over and ask if there's some way I can help you out. Like, what's bugging you? What's the problem? Now, I don't care who you are. If you're waving a butter knife at me, I'm not going to get too concerned about it. Now, could you stab me with a butter knife? I suppose so. But when I see someone that is obviously in distress, I'm not too concerned about them. Okay, and, my job is to talk you down, to befriend you, not hurt you. You're obviously already hurting. So it's not a big threat to me, and I ain't got body armor on, and I ain't got whatever they call it, pepper spray, and I ain't got a gun, and I'm not afraid of you. I want to help you out. So what's with these heavily armed people in these suits, in these uniforms, yelling and screaming at these people that are already in distress? Shooting these poor people and then saying they felt threatened. If you feel threatened by somebody with a pen knife or a butter knife, or whatever, and obviously the person is distressed, and you say I shot them because I felt threatened, then you need to go to jail. But I don't care how you look at that, you just murdered somebody. And the state protects these people because the police are there to protect the state. So they're covering each other's backs. So how are you going to get to the bottom of these stories? You can't. Now, this is a perfect example of what's wrong here. Okay, this death, I think I did this at the very beginning of the show. Some Jermaine Carby was killed in 2014 by a policeman. Now, I thought this was a woman, but it's not. No Peel, it's a black guy. No Peel regional police officer will be disciplined for tampering with evidence after a fellow shot and killed Jermaine Carby in 2014. The force has also made no policy or procedural changes to ensure no other officer interferes with a probe by Ontario Special Investigation Unit, which is the SIU, which I've had at my house, which we talked about another case. And the gentleman that was here was really good, and so was his partner. And we spoke for about 2 hours, and in that 2 hours, he voiced of how disappointed he is in the Ontario Provincial Police. Now, the SIU can only investigate certain things, and they are basically heinous things that happen to the victims of the police. One of them is rape. The other one is if they rip an arm or leg off you. And the other one is if you are burned by the police to a significant portion of your body. And the last one is if they shoot and kill you. This is the only time the SIU can come in and investigate. Everything else is off the table. So the SIU is trying to get an investigation going for tampering of evidence by the police. But the force has made no policy. And if you go look at the OPP site or the, I forget which exact documents are, they don't call it the Ontario Provincial Police. It's called the Force, known as the OPP. Okay? So the police here in Ontario are actually referred to as the Force, known to you and I as the OPP. The reasons no cop will face consequences for the actions the SIU director said denied the public of any independent investigation are spelled out in secret internal police review prepared by Chief Jennifer Evans and brought to a closed-door meeting of the Peel Regional Police Services. And there's another problem, okay? The police, and it'll be the same thing wherever you live, the police are outside the reach of the government. The police are a separate entity that was created by the so-called legislature, and those who created that legislation or the Police Act created it in such a fashion that the very police force they created is outside the reach of those who created it. Brilliant. It's basically a private contractor. That was set up to protect the so-called government. Nothing to do with protecting the people. Anyways, the 7-member civilian board, which includes the mayors of Brampton, and all mayors in all countries are members of the global mayors or the international mayors, world mayors, okay, all up to their ass in this globalization and this internationalization thing, as are the police. The police chiefs are all members of Police Chiefs International or Chiefs of Police International. Look it up, you'll find it. Okay, they're not here to serve you. Okay, and they were here originally to serve the state, protect the state. Now they're serving and protecting the globalists who wish to build a global state, which will be global police. You think it's bad now. You just keep hanging around and waiting and watching this, not doing nothing about it. You see how bad it gets. Anyways, the 7-member civilian board, which includes the mayors of Brampton and Mississauga, has no immediate plans to make the review public. Peel Police, meanwhile, say they cannot release the report because it has gone to the board. Excuse. But again, the police board has no ability. And I've been over this with the Ministry of Corrections and Safety, of which the police fall under that ministry, but agreed by the ministry, not the board, not the ministry, not the premier, nobody in this province has control over the police. It can advise, it goes on, that there was no no action taken or recommended, and the persons are provided, and the reasons are provided in the contents of the review. Yada, yada, yada. The decision to release or provide further information contained in the administrative review rests with the Peel Police Services Board. Now, what happens with the boards is after having the police here, I don't know how many dozen times over about a 5-year period, I finally got fed up and went to the Police Services Board meeting, of which the chief and the staff sergeant, who are supposed to attend these things, did not. They waited outside until I left, and then they went inside. After I had said my police thing to the police board, because they've been breaking the law for so long, what happened? Both the staff sergeant and the chief disappeared. Gone. And this will be cooked up between the police board and the police. Okay, Ron knows exactly what's going on. He knows what your guys are up to. He knows both of our sides are breaking the law. He knows the municipality is breaking the law. He knows the police are breaking the law. Now what? Well, the best thing we do is get you to hell out of here. And they did. Then they brought in an interim chief. And I tried to go into more police boards, and they go, well, it's not really working because we just have an interim guy here now. So he'd hang around for 3 months, vacate, another one come in for 3 months, vacate. So what do I want to talk to these guys for? They're not going to be here long enough to worry about anything. So long time later, we get a new chief inspector or inspector, whatever they call him now. And who's the inspector now? The staff sergeant, the one that left town after I was at the police board. Now that one's back as the chief inspector, which is absolute lunacy. But this is the way these guys operate. So the police board is working with the police to help protect the police. And they go there and discuss things, and just like they did in this particular case. And so the idea that another policeman, after this shooting, and the police said he had a knife, and shot him because of it, all of a sudden then the supposed knife disappears and doesn't show up till later. So let me see if I can find the guts of this story here. Let's see. In July, SIU Director Tony LaPerue ruled that no charges would be laid against an unnamed Peel police officer who shot and killed 33-year-old Carby during a September 2014 traffic stop in Brampton. A frickin' traffic stop. LaPerue ruled that the officer's use of lethal force was justified because Carby was approaching him with a knife. But in a rare move, LaPerue called out a Peel officer, also unnamed, for the highly regrettable and ill-advised decision to remove from the scene the knife officers said Carby was carrying. The knife was handed to SIU investigators in a paper bag several hours later by an acting Peel sergeant who said an officer responding to the shooting had taken it from the scene. Now, we know that wouldn't happen. Okay? The police run by their policies, and when this goes down, it gets roped off, and forensics come in or whatever, but they do an investigation. You just don't pick up the supposed weapon and wander off with the damn thing and then send it over to SIU in a paper bag. Doesn't happen. As a result of the officer's actions, the SIU, in a broader sense the public, is asked to accept that the knife it retrieved from police was in Mr. Carby's possession when he was shot. When that same inference could have more readily and safely been made had the scene not been tampered with. Was there a knife? Cop shoots a black guy in Brampton, Ontario at a traffic stop saying he had a knife. The knife mysteriously disappears from the crime scene to be delivered in a paper bag hours later, saying, oh, this was the knife. Now, what happens here? Cop shoots the guy and says, calls in, man down, I shot this guy. Oh, what'd you shoot him for? Well, blah, blah, blah. Well, I felt threatened or something, whatever. Well, do you have a weapon? Well, I don't know. Well, this ain't going to go over well. We're going to need a weapon. So we'll conjure up a story. He had a knife. Fine. So we'll come down to the crime scene and check it out, and we'll see the knife. Well, the knife's gone. Where the hell did the knife go? Well, I don't know. Somebody picked it up and wandered off with it. Really? And who was this officer? Well, we can't name him. Well, where the hell did the knife go? I don't know. A couple hours later, it shows up being delivered to the SIU in a paper bag. Oh, here's the knife. Because the SIU has a obligation to investigate any time a cop shoots somebody. So they just send them a knife in a bag. Say, that's the knife. So the shooting was justified. That's how freaking ridiculous this has gotten. It's all in-house. It's all each other covering each other's butts. Now, did the guy have a knife? I don't know. But when they got to the crime scene, there's no knife. And it just mysteriously shows up later. Every excuse not to do an investigation, every excuse not to name the officers. And the officers don't even, they're, as they call it, they're outside of the province. And nobody can call them in. Nobody in the province can say, hey, Chief, get your butt over here. We need to talk. Well, I'm busy today. I got a golf game scheduled, so I can't come over and talk to you. And he'd be right. That's exactly what he could say. Even if the Premier of the province called him up. Because the Premier of the province and no one else in the province can touch the police. So they set up these boards that people think, well, the board's looking after them. Wrong. Well, the SEIU's looking at wrong. Well, the ministry's wrong. These are employees of the Queen. And you might say, well, I don't live in Britain. No, but we're still all subjects of the Queen/Crown. Because citizen means the same as subject. So we're all subservient to the Queen Crown. Okay? And her employees basically do the bidding of the employer. So, you know, we might all want to write the Queen and say, you know, your guys are running around over here, your employees are running around over here shooting the place up. Killing people, making excuses why they killed them. We can't get an investigation going. You know, we're still on the plantation. They can justify anything. They can hide anything. It says legally, police boards may make administrative reviews public under the province's Police Services Act, but the appeal board generally considers the content of administrative reviews confidential, okay? Because it says legally police boards may make administrative reviews public, but they have no obligation to do so. So they all go and they get in the huddle and they go, how the hell are we going to handle this? Like, if this gets out, we're cooked. Well, then we just won't release it. We won't name who's involved in it. And it'll eventually go away. The Office of Community Safety and Correctional Services Minister, Yasser Naqvi, who is overseeing a review of the act, referred to the Star and Peel Board for comment. Now, this is the other problem. This story is in a newspaper called the Toronto Star. Okay? Now, while they write all this stuff up, who's not giving information to who and yada, 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 and was there a knife, wasn't there a knife, it's all good, but they never get to the guts of the thing. They talk about the police board, they talk about the SIU, they talk about who they were talking to, yada, 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 but they never, ever, ever release the real information that, one, nobody in this province has the authority nor the ability to tell the police anything except what's in the Police Act. And the Police Act is written for the protection of the state. So the police are protecting the state. The police are not even part of the province because they're employees of the Queen. And the Act puts them outside the reach of the province. So the province who created them can't touch them. They never, ever, ever, ever expose that stuff. So, and that's what makes them criminal, the media criminal, because a half a truth is a whole lie. Now, if they just printed the reality of what's going on here, they wouldn't have to print these stories. But their job is to protect the state as well. The news, so-called news. Anyways, board chair Lori Williamson said in an email that any decision to release either parts or a condensed version would only be made in the future following further consultation with the board. Huddle time, right? What are we going to do now? Well, we'll just huddle and we'll figure something out, make a statement, whatever. Goes on to say the public deserves to understand why an officer would not be disciplined for moving a key evidence, action which under any circumstances another person would be charged with obstructing police or contaminating a crime scene. Excuse me. Said Daryl Davies, a criminology instructor at Carleton University. Okay, so it's against the law. But the police aren't about law. They're about protecting the state. That's their job. Don't let law get in our way. It says there's no such thing as accountability when things are done when they're done in a clandestine way and you don't know what happened. The decision to keep the report secret leaves key questions about Carby's death and the removal of the knife unanswered. The Star put a series of questions to Chief Evans, including whether she issued a reminder to officers that they cannot interfere in a SIU investigation. But Richardson said the questions are all addressed to the administrative review that was provided to the Peel Regional Police Services Board. So basically, I guess I don't have to answer you. Former SIU Director Ian Scott told the Star that he can only remember seeing 2 administrative reviews during his tenure, which dealt with the fatal shooting of Levi Schaefer and Douglas Minty by OPP officers in separate incidences in 2009. Those reviews were made public because they were part of a court case that eventually landed before the Supreme Court, which ruled in 2013 that police officers under investigation cannot consult with a lawyer before preparing their notes. Now, remember that, because what was happening is when the cop got caught, what they would do is everything would get shut down, and then the police would meet with the lawyers, who wrote the legislation, by the way, the legalese into the legislation, which puts the cops separate from everything else in the province. It can't be touched by the province. And they would sit down and they would hammer out the details before the police ever wrote the notes. So the police were being instructed by the lawyers on how to write the reports. Now, supposedly that's come to a stop. So now our police are not to have legal advice or coaching when writing their notes when there's a fatal shooting or death. Scott said there is no requirement for chiefs of police to also provide a copy of the review to the SIU director. Okay, so the chiefs have no obligation to SIU, which is the investigating body. So the SIU is nothing more than a smoke and mirrors, a deception, part of the gatekeeping system. Anyways, to my knowledge, none of the chiefs make the review public, said Scott, certainly not between 2008 and 2013 when Scott was head of the SIU, and it doesn't look like much has changed. And again, when I had the SIU here for a couple hours on a different thing and was talking to them, they were quite ticked off about how the SIU was being used excuse me, as a deflection, not a excuse me, not as a course of action. Scott said the police board should have a very good reason for not releasing a review, especially in the case of a fatal shooting. by police. Well, they do have a good reason not for releasing a review, because if the review goes the wrong way, they ain't going to release it. Simple as that. If the review doesn't fall positively on the side of the police, they're not going to release it. Given the obviously extreme consequences of the incident, in order to foster public confidence in the policing, I would have thought that more police services would be releasing these reports. In the Carby shooting, Scott said he would expect the public to be especially interested in finding out from the review why an officer took a knife from the scene. Police have also have always refused to provide any details about the officers, including his name or rank. So they don't even know who took the frickin' knife, or if there was a knife there. They have no idea what took place. Nobody's been arrested for tampering. And again, as they said, if you or I picked up the knife and walked away, we'd have our asses in jail or in court pretty quick. So what's going on? Well, the fact is, the police have free rein. Knowing that they may never get answers through Peel Administrative Review, the Carby family is now be more eager to learn if a coroner's inquest will be held to examine the circumstances of his death and future fatalities. Well, I hope they're not holding their breath. Ontario's Coroners Act makes the inquest mandatory when a person dies while in the custody or detained by police. In Carby's case, it has not yet been determined if an inquest is mandatory. Well, it just said there that this is what kills me. This is a newspaper. They don't question what they're writing. The Ontario's Coroner Act makes the inquest mandatory when a person dies while in custody or detained by police. In Carby's case, it has not yet been determined if an inquest is mandatory. It just said it was mandatory in the last sentence. If not, the coroner will have to determine if a discretionary inquest will be held. They just said the inquests were mandatory. And then they say it's not yet been determined if an inquest is mandatory. It's mandatory when a person dies while in custody or detained. Well, he was obviously detained. It was a traffic stop. So there you go. But the decision has been held up because the SIU did not send a copy of the final report in the Carby case to the coroner's office until last week, 2 months after Lepero completed his report. Normally it would arrive within a week of completion, said Dr. William J. Lucas, Regional Supervising Coroner in Ontario's Central West Region. The SIU did not respond to questions about the reasons for the delay, but spokesman Monica Hudson said whether or not the coroner decides to hold an inquest is not dependent on having the SIU report. Lucas said the SIU director's reports can be helpful in determining if an inquest is mandatory, and he was waiting for it in this case. Now that his office has a copy of the report, decision on whether or not to hold an inquest in Carby's death, which happened in 2014, will be made fairly soon, or just buried in the shit pile of paper and set on a shelf or lost, and that's the end of Mr. Carby. And this is happening way too often, folks. And the reason is the police are not accountable to anybody. And they got too many gatekeepers out there. Anyways, I see it's 1:58, and today's show is not at all what I had planned. But I want to thank
Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line, lower classes, social slime, they don't matter, genocide, sick from water, sick from air, making money, they don't care, Caesar shit, force them air, fuck them back, it's only for they bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids, no one makes countries, lie to your face, fight, and die, cause God will give.
Hey.